Ark is packed with hundreds of admin commands that can improve your experience when used right. In this video, I'll break down the 50 most useful commands I've learned over years of messing around inside the game. If you're watching this after the Unreal Engine 5.5 update and play on Ark Ascended, these commands are more important than ever, so make sure to stick around. These commands can also be used in Ark Evolved, so if you play that game instead, this will still be useful. I'm also going to include breakdowns for the commands so you fully understand what each number input and what everything means. This will let you adjust the command and use it in a way that applies to you, because most of these commands can be used in multiple ways. This video took me a long time to make, so I'd appreciate it a ton if you could subscribe to help me reach 15,000. Without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Before we get into any specific commands, let's talk about how to use the console, how to translate these commands to Ark Evolved, and what online tools are best to use for commands in Ark. To open the admin console on PC, the button is either tab or tilde depending on what game you're playing. It's tab in Ark Evolved and it's tilde on Ark Ascended by default. If these buttons aren't working for you, just go to your key bindings tab, go down in the middle column towards the bottom, and then you can see the button right here. If it says the button is tilde or tab and it's not working in your game, just rebind the button by changing the button to something else and then changing it back to tilde or tab and saving. Sometimes the console button for some reason just doesn't work, so rebinding it is the fix. For PlayStation and Xbox, you can see the pop-ups on screen now. They're right off the Ark IDs page on how to open the console. Some of the commands in this video are much easier to use with Ark IDs. Whenever there's a command like that, I will mention it, and I'll leave a link in the description to the site. Up first, I'm talking about the gamma command, which is by far the most known and most useful command in Ark. The gamma command has ranges from 1 to 5, and it just changes your brightness. Gamma 1 being the lowest brightness setting, and gamma 5 is the highest. This command does have decimals as well, so if you want something like 2.5 instead of 2 or 3, you can do that. It's just a really convenient command to have. Ark has very drastic lighting changes from area to area, and you're able to use gamma commands on both official and unofficial unless somebody specifically disables it, which is pretty rare. It's just a universally very helpful command. You can also use just the gamma command without any number input, and this will put you back to the default brightness you get when you spawn in. Turning fog off leads to multiple benefits, including better performance, better vision, and just making the game look better in my opinion. The difference on land is mostly seen in caves and other specific areas that are foggy, but it does improve general performance. It makes the game look less blurry. The real purpose for this command though is absolutely going underwater with it. It just makes the underwater area so much more clear. It makes it look amazing. Especially after the UE 5.5 update, the underwater's been even harder to see in from my experience. So I basically always use this command when I play. It improves FPS, it improves visuals, and it makes the game just look better to me. There's no command like this in Ark Evolved, but I just think the visibility and the fog in that game is a lot more better managed in general, so you don't really need it nearly as much. Up next, I have the r.volumetric cloud space 0 command, which turns off clouds for a major performance boost. Ark's clouds have never really looked great in my opinion, but after the UE 5.5 update especially, they just look absolutely terrible. Not only do they make the game look worse though, they are also ridiculously bad for optimization. They just totally tank performance. This command is totally out of the way. You barely notice clouds not being there, and even after you turn off all the volumetric clouds, there are still some very small clouds in the air, so the sky isn't totally empty. In Ark Evolved, you can turn them off in the settings menu if you want to, but you really don't have to. The performance in that game is a lot better. Up next, I have the r.shadowQuality command, which simply turns on and off shadows. If you type in r.shadowQuality space 0, it turns off shadows, and if you type in r.shadowQuality space 1, it turns the shadows back on. Turning off shadows is generally most useful when you're getting one of those weird lighting bugs that are super common now. For example, the strobing light that happens in caves sometimes. Those lighting bugs are almost always caused by shadows, so turning off the shadows temporarily does make the game look a little bit worse, but it also gets rid of those issues. I'll turn off shadows when I'm trying to play in PvP because it just gives way more visibility on the map. And sometimes when I'm trying to get a cool shot for a video, but I built something behind a mountain, or when I'm trying to do something and there's just a shadow in the way, turning it off temporarily is nice. Up next, I have the grass.sizescale command. This command is maybe the most underused command in Ark, and it's so good. There's a lot of ground clutter in Ark that's super unnecessary and tanks your performance. You can see it in the background of this clip. The worst map for it though by far is Extinction in the Wasteland. Using the grass.sizescale space 0.5 command gives you half the ground clutter that you would originally have. This improves performance while keeping the map looking pretty much the exact same as it would otherwise. Grass.sizescale space 0 is a bit more extreme. I think it makes the game look not as good as it could, but it does really boost your performance. And grass.sizescale space 1 is the regular amount of ground clutter the map has on average. There's just too much here. It tanks performance for no benefit. In Ark Evolved, you don't need this command because the game is more optimized and it doesn't spam you with so much ground clutter, and this is the last command that's like this. The last 45 are all really useful in both games. My next command is kind of a command and kind of not a command, is using INI files. INI is your game's initiation files, and in Ark Evolved, this is the best way by far to increase your performance and set up your game properly for the PvP side. It's basically a lot of different lines that can add in for what you want. For example, there's sg.shadowQuality=0, which turns off your shadows before you even launch the game. I'm not going to go into insane detail here simply because it's a full video in itself. I'll link a guide down below for this specific topic. But on screen now you can see a lot of the most commonly used commands in the INI files for when you're adjusting them for Ark Evolved. In Ark Ascended, the easiest way to replicate this without having to go into initiation files is just turning your game's graphics to performance. On performance, you get really low graphic quality. You can run around the map and see basically everything. This is basically a mini INI file that's way easier to set up and improves your frames a lot in a less optimized game. Over the next 2 weeks, my Discord is hosting giveaways for whatever Ark content the winner wants. Ark Ascended, Ark Evolved, or any DLCs for either game on any platform is fair game. If you're interested, check out the first link in the description, and while you're down there, I'd appreciate you liking the video. Thanks! My next command is Destroy Wild Dinos. This command wipes all dinos that are not unconscious or being tamed or are already tamed from the map. This is great for resetting spawns on a map if you're on something like the island where a lot of the creatures are low levels and you want to re-roll them. For example, let's say you're looking for a high level Giga. Going around killing a bunch of Gigas that are low level is super annoying and it's going to waste you a ton of time and a ton of resources. Using the command to reset those spawns, wait a couple of hours for everything to respawn, and then going around looking for another high level one is a lot faster and it's just more convenient. If you're running a server by yourself as well, this also reduces the server lag by a lot. My 8th command is the kill command, and this works very similarly to my 9th command as well. The kill command simply kills the target you're looking at. It works on structures, it works on creatures, and it'll give you back either the resources from the structure if you were to normally demolish it, or the corpse from the creature if you were to kill it normally. My 9th command is the Destroy My Target command, which is very similar, but does have the key difference of not giving you anything back after you destroy it. When using the Destroy My Target command, it basically erases what you're looking at. It'll either erase the creature from existence and not give you a corpse, or it will completely delete the structure and you won't get the resources back. These are both pretty situational commands, but if you're stuck or you're soft locked or something's going on, or you're just trying to demolish a base quickly, the kill command can be helpful. And if you don't care about getting any of the resources back from the creature or the structure, just use Destroy My Target. Up next, I have which summon command to use when and how to use all of the good summon commands. There's 3 good summon commands: the SDF command, the GM summon command, and the regular summon command. The GM summon command is best for when you're looking to summon a tamed creature, choosing the level of it, and giving you a little bit more control of what's getting summoned. The regular summon command is super easy to input, it's very fast, and is good for wild creatures and not as specific of requirements. And the SDF command is a bit buggier, but I find it being pretty good in Ark Evolved. The formatting for all 3 of these commands are on screen now. I personally lean using the GM summon and the normal summon commands, but a lot of people prefer the SDF command because it's more of a jack of all trades where you can summon tamed and untamed. I just find in Ark Ascended specifically, the other 2 are much better, and in Ark Evolved, the SDF command is much better. This is because that second slot of the SDF command is a 1 or a 0 input for determining if the creature's tamed. If you put a 1 in the second slot, it's a tamed creature, and if you put a 0 here, it's an untamed creature. The only other difference between the SDF command and the other 2 is in terms of what creature ID you use. For the SDF command, you remove the _C that's in every single creature ID in the game, whereas the other 2 commands use regular creature IDs. There's a website called ark.gg that gives you all the creature IDs for free. You can scroll through them and click on a creature, and you can even go through the command types on the page as well to pick which one you want. This website's exceptionally useful. I use it all the time because you can just summon the creature that you want exactly so much quicker by copying and pasting it over. This is easily one of the most important commands in the game because if you ever want to test anything out, summoning creatures is usually a part of it. It's also really good if you lose your items. For example, if a creature gets meshed into the floor, you can at least give yourself back a creature of similar level. Up next, I have the Force Tame command, which literally just tames the creature that you are looking at. It'll give the creature that you're force taming additional levels, assuming that you would have gotten an 100% taming effectiveness on it, which is very similar in terms of how the GM summon and the SDF summon commands worked. So if you do a force tame on a level 150, you'll get a level 225. The Do Tame command is also useful. It's basically the same thing as force tame, besides how the creature behaves after you do tame it. When you do tame a creature, you get to name it immediately and it'll be following you, unlike the force tamed creature, which will just sit there and be tamed. Up next is the GFI command. The GFI command is easily one of the most useful in the game, and this is how you type it in. It goes GFI space the item ID that you can find on Ark IDs in a huge list, the quality of the item. For example, a value of 20 would give you a really strong Ascendant item, and a value of 1 would give you a primitive item. And the last slot is whether or not the item is a blueprint. So for example, if you're trying to get something like a pike, entering the number 0 in the third slot gives you the item, and entering the number 1 in the final slot gives you the blueprint. Ark is a super buggy game, and you tend to lose items to mesh a lot of the time, so if that does happen to you, you can just give yourself back items that are in the ballpark of what you had. Like a lot of the other commands in this video, I'll leave a link in the description for all of the item IDs in the list format that Ark IDs has. It's super helpful. And the GFI command is usable in both games. Just remember what I said earlier in the video about most of these commands needing to add the word cheat in front to get them to work in Evolved. Up next, I have the give resources command, which is pretty unique. This command basically just gives you 100 of a ton of different resources. You can see in my inventory now on screen every single resource it gives you. This command is just pretty versatile. It can give you items from other maps as well. For example, if you want the gems from Aberration to do some cool stuff like a glider suit, just use the give resources command to get 100 red gems. My next command is the slow-mo command, which is one of my favorites in the game. The slow-mo command has a wide range of 0.1 to 10, and it basically allows you to slow or speed up time. You can go higher than this range, but for the sake of not crashing your game, I would stay around 0.1 to 10. The use cases for this on the slow side are getting really cool cinematic shots, and the use cases on the fast side are speeding up days. For example, if you're trying to wait for something to be ready to imprint, or if you're just sitting around your base waiting for stuff to craft, whatever it may be, waiting for stuff to heal around your base. There's just a lot of things that you have to wait for in Ark. Using the slow-mo 10 command to just blitz through those situations is pretty nice sometimes. At number 16, I have the set time of day command. The lighting in Ark can be really bad at certain times of the day, so if you're trying to do something like build, or if you're just trying to chill out, setting the time of day to something like 8 in the morning, 10 in the morning to get really good lighting is a good idea. On screen now you can see the formatting for how you input this date. For example, if you want to have 8 a.m., you go set time of day space 08:00:00. You can do this for all 24 hours of the day, and I use it a lot of the time when I'm trying to get cool recording shots. A really good command to pair with the set time of day command is the players only command. The players only command basically freezes everything on the map besides what the player is either doing or interacting with. For example, if you have a tamed Giga and you whistle for it to follow you, it will not follow you during the players only command because you're not directly interacting with that creature. If you're on the back of it though, it will move even if players only is enabled. Obviously, while players only is enabled, all wild creatures will not be moving, and if you move to a new area where creatures were not rendered in, there will be no wild creatures. The way to end the players only command is just typing in players only a second time. It's basically a toggle, and when it ends, the daytime will shift to exactly what it would have been. But during the players only command, the time of day will not change. Up next, I have 2 cheats that can give you a ton of experience. The first one is cheat, add experience, then the quantity of XP you want, with 2 extra indicators at the end. The max amount of experience you can have on a character for a level 105 character is 640,000, so if you put 640,000 there, you'll get to max level. The last 2 numbers in this command really don't matter that much. It just indicates if your creature that you're riding or you get the XP. Usually for me, I just do a number way bigger than 640,000 and put 1s in both slots. What this does is it basically gives you max XP on both you and the creature that you're riding at the same time, which is pretty convenient. For example, a command I'll put in is cheat space add experience space 1 million or 10 million, whatever number you want to put there, just a huge number, space 1 space 1. This will give you and any creature that you're riding as you input the command max XP. The other command that's relevant to XP is cheat, give XP to target, and then there's 3 other numbers there as well. The first number, yet again, is the amount. 640,000 is still the max there, and the other 2 numbers actually mean nothing. The first number indicates whether or not the XP that's being given to the target is from your tribe or not. This number literally does nothing. Put a 1, put a 0, it does not matter. The second number prevents sharing with your tribe, so if you put a 1 in this slot, it prevents you from sharing the XP you're giving to your target with nearby things. In my opinion, you should pretty much always have this as a 1. Sharing the XP around really doesn't make sense if you're trying to give XP to one target. If you're trying to give XP to a lot of creatures in one given area, just choose a huge number way bigger than 640k and put a 0 in this last slot so they all get the XP at the same time. My 20th command is the hide riders command, which is pretty cool. You can use it to hide yourself while you're on the back of a creature. For example, let's say you're flying on the back of a creature and you want to get a cool cinematic shot. You can type in hide riders space 1, and this will basically make you hidden while you're riding on the back of creatures. And you can type in hide riders space 0 to disable this and make yourself visible again. One thing I should have mentioned earlier is that 1 basically means true with these commands, and 0 basically means false. If you're looking for something like a true or false indicator when you're looking at Ark IDs, that's basically the number Ark IDs wants you to put in when there's a true-false section of a command. One thing to note for the Hide Riders command is when you are invisible, it doesn't make the saddle invisible, so if you want to have a creature be ridden by you while you're invisible entirely, make sure to take the saddle off, go into creative mode, and then ride the creature and use this. The next command is very simple. It's just stat space FPS. This command just shows you your FPS. If you have low FPS, you can check when you change settings how it affects your FPS. If I'm under 60 or 120 FPS, I'll usually adjust some things to get it up to that level. You can see in this clip, I put everything on epic for the purposes of showing it going down to 30 FPS, and then I adjusted the settings to medium, which went back to 144. Up next is infinite stats. Infinite stats gives you guessed it, infinite stats. It gives you unlimited health, stamina, oxygen, but not unlimited weight. It also doesn't prevent some niche forms of damage, like taking damage from getting stomped on. You can see here in the clip, I gave this compy infinite stats and is still taking 100 damage from the Giga stepping on it. Due to not being completely invulnerable and not getting unlimited weight, I do think there's better alternatives to this command, but it is pretty convenient to use, especially if you're trying to give a creature that you're riding infinite stats. I usually use it for that if I'm just messing around. Number 23 is just give infinite stats to target. This gives infinite stats, the exact same thing I just described, to a target you're looking at. For example, you can't ride a compy, so you can't just get on top of the compy and use the infinite stats command to give it the stats. So the only way to give creatures that are unrideable infinite stats is using this command. The next command on my list is infinite weight, and this is arguably better than both of the ones I just talked about. This doesn't give you any of the invulnerabilities, it doesn't give you any of the unlimited stamina or oxygen, but it does give you unlimited weight, which is just amazingly useful. There's not really much else to say. Getting infinite weight especially is just really convenient in so many different situations. One thing I should mention for all of these infinite stat commands, you just type in the command a second time to toggle it back off. My favorite time to use this command is sometimes when I'm running around the base trying to build something and I have a ton of resources or structures on me, or when I'm trying to transfer a huge amount of resources in my base to a separate area, or just trying to move my base. I obviously don't use this command every time, but using it sparingly can save you a lot of hassle. My next command is the refill stats command. If your character has anything lower than full on HP, stamina, oxygen, food, or water, you can use the refill stats command to top your character right back off. You can also use this when you're on the back of a creature to refill your creature's stats. This is basically just a way more balanced version of infinite stats. The best time to use this is by far when you're flying in the air on a flyer super high up in the sky and it runs out of stamina and then it's doing that really annoying slow animation as it's trying to land. Refilling the stats to get the stamina back to full so it's not doing that slow animation saves a ton of time. My next command is the hurt me command. This command is inputted by typing the word hurt me and then putting a space and then typing the exact amount of damage you want your character to take. If you get soft locked somewhere, you don't have to sit there for 25 minutes. Just type hurt me space the amount of HP you have or more than the HP you have and you will die on the spot. This can also be useful sometimes if you're in the early game on a brutal map like Scorched Earth and you know you're screwed. Just type the hurt me space damage command to kill yourself there and then you can respawn somewhere else to get a fresh start if you got a really bad spawn. My next command is the GCM command, which simply gives you creative mode. Creative mode gives you the ability to fly, it makes you invincible, and it lets you craft almost everything in the game in your inventory. Creative mode is the ultimate sandbox experience for Ark. You can just go in there, have zero risk, fly around the map, and do fun stuff if you want to. You also get an admin gun in creative mode that lets you force tame things, immediately kill things, and teleport. I use creative mode for every single one of my videos to fly around the map and get cool shots for stuff, and I also use creative mode sometimes just to test out different techniques that I saw from other videos. Similar to GCM, GM buff is just the best version of God mode in the game. It's significantly better than just using the God command, which most people do use. God doesn't protect you from things like drowning or weather damage like extreme temperatures for some reason in certain situations. GM buff protects you from everything. It lets you just be in an actual God mode. It just works a lot better, so use this instead of God. If you want none of the extra perks and you just want to be able to fly, you can just simply use the fly command. This lets you fly around the map super quickly. It doesn't make you immortal, doesn't make you super OP, you can't craft anything you want, and you don't get an admin rifle, but it does let you zoom around and get cool pictures of stuff. If you're stuck in the air and you're trying to land, you have to use the walk command to get back on the ground. There's no other way to land outside of the fly command than dying or using the walk command. The ghost command gives you really similar abilities to the fly command with one exception. It lets you phase through walls. If you're stuck in the mesh or your bag gets stuck in the mesh after you die, just use the ghost command to retrieve your stuff. It lets you fly around and phase through walls, and after you're done getting your stuff, go back above the surface wherever you want to land, and then use the walk command to get back on the ground. You can also use the fly command when you're in Ghost, and this will just change you to not being able to phase through walls while still being able to fly. There's no shame in using a command to get yourself out of a tricky scenario that was caused by poor game design, so don't feel bad using this. Up next, I have the enemy invisible command. Using enemy invisible space 1 makes you invisible to all enemies, and using enemy invisible space 0 makes you visible again to enemies. Using the command without numbers also makes you invisible, but you need to use 0 to put yourself back to being visible. This command is pretty funny to use regardless of how you use it, but when you're trying to get value out of it, you really only can when you're trying to do passive tames like the Shadow Main that are super buggy. Outside of rare instances like this, there's really not that much practical use for it, but it is cool. Up next, I have the give colors command, which is really simple. The way this command works is you type give colors space a number, and whatever number you input is how many of each dye Ark has to offer you get into your inventory. For example, in the clip, you see me putting various different numbers into the command, and I get that amount of dye for each type of dye, which is really convenient if you're trying to design your base. What I've done countless times is done the command give color space 1 just to test out different colors for a certain situation before I decide on what color I want to go with. The reason for this is crafting one of each 100 dyes that Ark has to offer is pretty annoying and time consuming. So by testing out all of them once beforehand, I know what I can invest my time into to actually get value back. My next command is also about colors, and this time it's set target dino color. This command is one of the more complicated ones on the list, and you definitely need to use Ark IDs for this. In the description, I've linked a page to every single color ID in the game in a list format. You copy the color ID over to put it into this command to make it work. The most color regions that a creature can have in Ark is 6, so in this command, the second slot, which is the color region number from 0 to 5, accounts for those 6. And the third number is the color ID, which is what you get from the website. If you combine all of this while pointing at a creature, you can change the color of that creature. My next command is much simpler, and it's the change size command. This command can range from 0 to 100, and you basically just type change size space and then a number in that range to change the size of your character. The only practical application for this is it's funny. Yeah, there's no practical application, but this command is way too funny not to include in the video. I love using this to troll my friends. I did this one time and made my character 5 times bigger than it normally was, and one of my new friends that was just getting into the game for the first time almost had a heart attack. You can also use this in boss arenas, and you can just tower over stuff like the Broodmother, which is pretty funny too. Making yourself smaller also works. You can turn yourself into Ant-Man and sneak around people's bases very easily. But if you make yourself too big or too small, you kind of just mesh through the floor, or you get so big that the map can't even fit you. My next 3 commands are the give set commands, starting off with the give armor set command. On screen now, you can see how to input it. For the tier, you want to put what kind of armor you want. For example, riot, metal, tech, whatever you need. And for the quality, you want to input a number from 0 to 20. 0 is the minimum quality and 20 is the maximum quality. Basically how this works is if you put 0 in, you'll get something like a primitive set of the armor you type in. And if you put 20, you'll get a very high tier strength ascendant set of the gear you type in. The second set command is the give weapon set command, and this one's a little bit more complicated. Instead of just typing in a specific weapon you want for the weapon slot, you have to type a number from 0 to 3. On screen now, you can see what all 4 of those numbers translate to. They basically all give you a set of weapons. The quality input is the exact same scaling that I talked about with the armor sets. It's 0 to 20, 0 is primitive, 20 is high tier ascendant. The only difference from the 0 to 20 scaling for this is the higher number means you get more ammo and you get more grenades. For example, for tech grenades or for C4 charges, you get a lot more with the higher numbers. The third set command is the give item set command, and this just sort of gives you a wide array of consumables that are pretty useful. This command is a lot simpler. There's only one number input. There's no quality input, so it gives you a set amount of every single consumable. On screen now, you can see what number of item set each of these translate to. Yet again, it's 0 to 3 for the sets. These commands are all pretty useful. I basically only use it when I'm on Aberration and really don't want to farm for cactus broth, but I could definitely see the appeal in using it more if you really don't like cooking. My next commands are a set of cosmetics for your hair and your facial hair. To adjust your hair length, you can do set head hair percent from 0 to 1, 0 being the shortest length possible and 1 being the highest length. And if you want to do it for your facial hair, you just change it to set facial hair percent 0 to 1. To change the styles, you do set head hair styles 0 to 7. 0 is your default style, and there's 1 through 7 as different preset styles. And you can also set your facial hair style with set facial hair styles 0 to 7, yet again 0 being the default. At 39, I just have a bunch of different weather codes. For Scorched Earth, you can see all of the weather codes on screen now to start and stop every single weather condition. For Aberration, here's the start and stop command for earthquakes. On Extinction, this is how you start meteors if you want to get a meteor shower going. And on the Genesis maps, you can do cheat force complete active mission space 0 to end any mission that you're in the middle of. You can use cheat space debug allow VR mission teleport. If you want to, for example, bypass the entire mission requirement to start a boss fight, you can use this command to let you completely skip that. You can use cheat space add hexagon space, the number of hexagons you want if you want to go into the shop or if you want to buy those crates. And on Genesis 2, if you've already used the cheat space debug allow VR mission teleport to get access to the boss fight, you also need mutagen for that. The GFI code for mutagen is cheat space GFI space mutagen space the number of mutagen you want space 0 space 0. Using these commands on the given maps that they're useful for is sometimes helpful. For example, on Genesis, the missions are really annoying. And on Aberration, sometimes you just need one more red gem, so why not start an earthquake to get that red gem a little bit faster? My next 4 commands have to do with raising babies. You can use set baby age from 0 to 1 to set your baby's age on a scale from 0% to 100%, 0 being a hatchling just right out of the egg, and 1 being a fully grown adult. You can use the set imprint quality command with the exact same 0 to 1 scale to set the imprint percent on a creature. Using 1 will give you 100% imprint. Anything over 1 is just ridiculously OP, so do stick to 0 to 1 in my opinion. If you go over it, your creature can just get a little ridiculous. The get egg command can give you an egg from any creature that lays eggs that you're looking at. For example, if you look at a male, you're not going to get an egg from it. But if you look at a female for a creature that drops eggs, you will get a fertilized egg from it. You have to put a number next to your get egg command. This number is how many mutations that egg has. So the get egg space 0 command gives you a fertilized egg with 0 imprints, and a get egg space 32 command gives you a fertilized egg with 32 mutations. And my 43rd command on the list is hatch egg, which just hatches any incubatable egg that you're looking at in the game. One more thing I should mention for the hatch egg and get egg commands is you can't use them on creatures like a rhino. The rhino does not drop eggs. You cannot hatch the egg because it's not an egg in the rhino, and you cannot get an egg from a rhino because it does not drop eggs. There's no command to bypass gestating creatures. The best way you can speed this process up is using the slow-mo command from earlier in the video. My 44th command is the clear cryosickness command. You can't use this to get rid of your cryosickness timer, but if you throw out a creature and it has cryosickness, simply use this command while you're looking at it and it'll wake up right then and there. This also works for creatures that get cryosickness from a dreadmare. It works on any cryosick creature. My 45th command is exclusively useful on Ark Survival Evolved, and it's the save world command. This manually saves the world that you're playing on. It isn't necessary after the UE 5.5 update in Ark Survival Ascended because you can simply click save game in your menu. The UE 5.5 update also removed a lot of the huge crashing issues you were getting when you logged out of the server or whatever, so it's not as important. But if you're in Ark Evolved, make sure to use this command because if you do crash, you might get rolled back and lose a lot of your stuff. My 46th command is the enable spectator command. Using enable spectator space 1 kills your character and enters you into a semi-cinematic camera mode. This allows you to fly freely around the map, not as quickly as the other fly commands, but still somewhat quickly. But in a majority of situations, ASA's photo mode is infinitely better than this and doesn't kill you. If you enter this command, the only way to get out of spectator mode is just dying or relaunching the world. You can see in the background clip that I can't die or use any command to get out of spectator mode, so I have to relaunch the world to play the game again. My next command is give all explorer nodes. This command may crash your game, but it's going to give you a ton of achievements that you most likely didn't have. It'll allow your character to level up 5 more times, and it'll give you a huge amount of time on double XP because it gives you all the explorer note double XP buffs at once. At number 48, I have all the map ascension commands. The Island, Aberration, Extinction, Genesis 1, and Genesis 2 all have ascension commands. The only map that lets you ascend that isn't on this list is the Scorched Earth Ascension because it does not have a command for it. The commands on screen show 1 to 3. That basically is just the gamma, beta, and alpha version respectively for it. So if you want the extra 15 levels for all of these besides Extinction, which doesn't give extra levels, just put 3 as the number instead of a 1-3. That will not do anything. If you want a really fast way to get into a boss arena and you're at the terminal and you need the tributes and the artifact, the best way to go about this is going to the Ark Wiki. For this example, let's talk about the Manticore because that's the one boss that you can't just use a command to ascend past, and go to its Ark Wiki. On its Ark Wiki page, you can see the Tribute Requirements tab. Click that and it'll drag you down the screen to a page right here. Let's say we want to beat the alpha difficulty. We'll click that button and we'll copy this giant code and put it right into our console. This code will give us every single tribute and every single artifact we need to summon the boss at the difficulty we selected. This saves an incredible amount of time manually going through every single tribute and artifact that you need to summon the boss. And once you're in the arena, you can just go over and do the kill command if you want to beat the boss fast. If you don't really care about ascending and you only want the engrams, the last command on this list is how to get engrams. The give engrams command gives you every single engram unlocked immediately without spending any engram points. And if you're only interested in getting the tech engrams immediately, you can use the give engrams tech only command, which doesn't give you any of the normal engrams and just all the tech engrams. Well, that's my list of the 50 most useful commands in Ark. Thank you to my members for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, I guarantee you that you'll enjoy the video linked on screen now, which covers how to counter the 40 most annoying things inside of Ark. See you there. Peace.